Another useful tool is conditional formatting. And this is really useful if you're dealing with a lot of numbers or a lot of data in general. And so we're going to look at how we could use conditional formatting to identify all the negative items within our gross column. And that's just one example. So to do this, we're going to go and select that gross column. So we could either click on H to select the whole column, or we could go and select the specific cells we wanted to apply this formatting to. We're then going to go and click Format, and here you'll see there's this option for conditional formatting. So if we click on that, it'll open up this block on the right-hand side. And here we can choose what range we want to apply this to. So we could go change this and make it apply only between H6 and H2085. We can then select a rule. So here you'll see there's various different rules. We could select it based on the cell. So if the cell is empty or not empty, if the text contains a certain value, or if it does not contain it. We could also look at things based on date. So if the date is a set date, or it's before or after a specific date. And then we have several rules relating to value. So if it's greater than a certain number, greater than or equal to, less than. So you'll see there's lots of different options. And so I'm just showing you one example of how this tool can be used, but it's really powerful. You can use it not just for numbers, but for dates. So you could consider all transactions that happened before or after your end to consider cutoff and make sure they were recorded in the correct period. Or you could use these rules over here to consider any descriptions that include a specific account, or perhaps some risky items like fraud or bribes or something like that. So you could use conditional formatting in many different ways. But as I said, we're going to look for any amounts that are less than 0. So we're going to come here and click less than. We then are going to select what we want it to be less than, and we're going to then select less than 0. We're then going to select the formatting style. So what will the cell look like if it meets this rule? And because it's less than 0, that's not a great thing. So we're going to make it red, and then we're going to go click done. And now you'll see if we click over here, any items in our gross sheet that are less than 0 are now in this red icon. We could go and add additional rules elsewhere in our sheet or even to the same sheet. So here I can go and add another rule, and now I can say any text that contains 10, and I can include orange, and I can go select that those should be orange and then click done. And now any item that contains 10, so you'll see there's a 10, it has selected those items. Another useful instance over there could be if we look at the description. So here, if I were to go and add a rule to these cells, I could go and say text contains, and I could say mother. Perhaps these are all related party accounts, and I can go put those in orange and click done. And now we'll be able to go see any description that has mother in it. And so we could go and consider what those transactions relate to and if we're comfortable with them. Okay, so that's how conditional formatting works within Google Sheets. And if you want to see if any formatting has been applied to a specific cell, you can go to Format and click on Conditional Formatting. And then when you click on a cell or set of cells, you'll see that there's no rules applicable to this column. We haven't added any conditional formatting rules as yet. But if we come here, we'll see that there are 2 sets of conditional formatting rules applicable to this whole column. And if we go to a specific cell, we'll see that those 2 apply. So that's how you can work with conditional formatting on Google Sheets. Let's go and see how it works on Excel. You can come click on conditional formatting, which is in the Home tab. You could also go click on Format and you'll find conditional formatting there, but this is obviously just a bit easier. So again, we're going to select the cells that we want to apply conditional formatting to. We're going to click on conditional formatting, and you'll see there's various different rules. So here we have a highlight cells rule. So that means it's going to highlight things that are greater than or less than, between, equal to, text that contain certain things, or based on date, or even duplicate value. So some of those rules are very similar to what we saw in Google Sheets. And here we can then go and say select less than. Now it will take us to this sheet where we can refine the selection. Here we can change the color if we would like, and we can go select that we want it to be less than 0 and click OK. And you'll see it's highlighted all amounts that are less than 0. We can apply additional rules to this. So here we can add text that contains 10, and we can change it to yellow, click OK, and here it will have selected any amounts that include whatever we've just selected. Let's quickly just go and look at some of those other options here. So the highlight cells rule is similar to what we've just done. We could also add a top or bottom rule. And so what this will do is highlight the top 10 items, the top 10%, the bottom 10 items, bottom 10% or above or below average. And that's really useful when you're dealing with numbers. Perhaps we wanted to go and look at our top 10 transactions. So we could come click conditional formatting over here, say top 10 items, put them in red and click OK. And then we'd be able to see that this transaction here was one of our top 10 debit transactions. And that could be really useful for investigating further or identifying where our top expenses are. So it's the beginning of some analytics. You could do something similar to see above or below average items. And if you click on more rules, it takes you to this sheet over here where you can customize this even further. So you could look for the top or the bottom, and you could change this to 10, 20, 50, or however many you wanted. And if you toggle this on, it will, instead of being 10, 20 items, it would be 10 or 20%. So that's how you can use those aspects of conditional formatting. The next option is data bar. So if we select items and one of these, you'll see that it will include a bar based on how big the data is. So for example, we had this really big number, it's filling up the whole cell. So that's a nice visual representation of how much each cell makes up. We could also apply color scales, and this is just going to include coloring based on numbers. So here, this very big number is in red, and we see different gradients based on the different values. You have some other options like icon sets, and you can also click on new rule. And here you'll be able to change the rules and customize them much more. And you can also clear any rules. So here, if we want to clear the rules we've applied, we can come click clear rules, and we can either clear it from the entire sheet, so every rule we have in the sheet, or just the selected cells. And you'll note that conditional formatting is removed. We can also come here and manage rules. So we can go to manage rules, and here it'll have a list of all of the conditional formatting that we've applied, and we can stop it by just ticking it on, or we could go and edit that rule and change the way it is working. Within Excel, you also have two additional options, and that's to format as a table or cell styles. So if I were to select all of these cells over here, I could say format as a table, and I could choose that to be a table. So that's how you can use conditional formatting in Excel.